Bad Boys 4, which I believe, Ray, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's coming out in June. I think they said June 7th is going to be opening the same day as the highly anticipated Crow reboot that everybody globally got excited about when that Bill Skarsgård image came out. I mean, it just sent the enthusiasm into overdrive. A little bit of sarcasm there, I suppose. But here's the thing. This new picture they just put out for Bad Boys 4, very Bad Boys kind of image. Like, this is a Bad Boys classic kind of image. I like this image a lot. And you know what? I'm not as big of a Bad Boys guy as a lot of other people are. I mean, I enjoyed the first two Bad Boys. I did. To me, they're not all-time classics, but I like them. I quite enjoyed number 3. Had a really good time with it, and I'm looking forward to number 4. But as we're now getting pretty close, it's only about 4 months away for Bad Boys 4.
June 7th.
June 7th. Here's the question that I have. Are audiences ready for Will Smith to come back in a big way? I mean, because you can already make the argument. He was in that Antoine Fuqua movie. That was an Apple TV Plus one. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was Emancipation. I think that was the name of it. But nobody really saw that. So I'm not really going to count that one. But after the infamous slap heard around the world at the Oscars, are people ready for Will Smith to return? And I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yeah. I mean, the feeling I'm getting from people online is that, yeah, it's not. And listen, I'm only going to speak for myself here. I was as, kind of disgusted by what Will Smith did at the Oscars a couple of years ago as much as anybody. It was completely unacceptable what he did, and there needed to be consequences. And you know what, though? There have been consequences. The man was globally humiliated. He lost out on a number of projects, cost him in the wallet a huge amount of money, counting into the millions and millions and millions and millions that it cost him. And then he continued to be humiliated by Chris Rock and others after, and well-deserved. But for me, at some point, you go, okay, has he, quote unquote, served his time? Has he paid the fine? Has he, suffered the consequences for his actions? And at some point, are we ready to say, okay, he's done. It's time to move on. I hated what he did at the Oscars, but he's paid the price. And again, I'm not saying other people should feel that way, because if you don't, I'm not saying you should. I'm only speaking for myself that it's cost him more money than I'll ever make in my life. It's cost him more public humiliation than I'll ever feel, and I've suffered a lot. And I'll probably, because of my own actions, probably suffer more in the future, but never to the degree that Will Smith has. And, Chris Rock is okay. Chris Rock's fine. He's walking around still doing his thing. And I think it's time for me as an audience member to move on. And I think the general audience may be as well. Anyway, Chris, I remember we were doing shows when the incident happened. Yes. And we were all like, number one, disappointed by the actions, surprised by the actions when you look at Will Smith's public persona. Like, I never would have guessed him to do something like that. But is it time? That was years ago now. Is it time now for him to come back and for audiences to come back? What do you think?
I think so. I think it's especially with this film and this franchise, I think this is a great time for Will Smith to come back. I've said it before on here, and obviously this is not let's just measure different crimes and assaults against each other. But we have had many actual bad boys in Hollywood come back very quickly or not even get any punishment from much more egregious actions. Emile Hirsch comes to mind. Other actors come to mind, who have assaulted people really horrifically violently. And then I see them in films or I hear their voice and stuff or things like that. What Will Smith did was absolutely not okay. But again, when that's kind of your litmus test of how other people's behavior has been treated, it does make me think, he's apologized. He went on the apology tour. It's up to you, the audience, to decide how sincere you felt that was. I personally felt that his apologies were very sincere. Were they probably glossed over by a PR person? Absolutely.
100%.
Whose wouldn't be in his position? But I do think he was sincere in his apology. I do think that he was very, very graceful and tactful when it came to Emancipation. He did interviews back in 2022 talking about how he fully understood if audiences were not ready to see him in a film again, and that he felt horrible that he was the person keeping this movie from fully succeeding as it could because of his actions. And I like that he took ownership like that. I think we live in a world where it's really easy to deflect and not actually own up to things that you've done. And I think that he should have a comeback. If somebody like Mel Gibson can, if somebody, well, maybe he hasn't had a full comeback, but if other people can start making movies again, if he can be in a movie with Will Ferrell about Christmas and fathers, I think Will Smith can be in Bad Boys and people can flock to theaters.
And, here's the thing, too. Like, I try to remind myself and other people about this sometimes. And this is in no way any justification for what Will Smith did. I'm well on record about how disappointed I was that he did that. But we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Factor. Guys, some days it's great to prepare your own meal, but some days it's great to have wonderful, delicious meals already ready to go. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals makes eating better every day easy. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. You'll have over 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. So what are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. They've got snacks, smoothies, and more. Discover a wide variety of easy options for the entire day, like breakfast, midday bites, and more. And guys, you get to save. We've done the math. Factor is less expensive than takeout, and every meal is dietitian approved to be nutritious and delicious. So guys, head to factormeals.com/Campea50 and use the code Campea50 to get 50% off. That's code Campea50 at factormeals.com/Campea50 to get 50% off. The big difference between Will Smith and everybody on this show and watching this show is that when we have our worst moments, we don't have cameras on us broadcasting it to a billion people around the world. And I think, again, that's not justifying anything that what Will Smith did. I'm just saying it's something to keep in mind about the whole thing, too. So I'm ready for Bad Boys 4, and I think a lot of other people are, too. I'm sure not everybody will be, and I understand, but I think a lot of people will be. Question is for you guys. What do you think? Are you looking forward to Bad Boys 4? Do you think other people are ready to go back to the theaters to see Will Smith again? Has enough time passed? Is it ready to move on? Let us know down in the comments section below. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.